So today we have a very interesting topic, and I gotta tell you, I might surprise you. For anybody that knows me or has watched any of my videos, I have kind of made mention on several occasions that I kind of consider myself to be a non-tradition, like anti-tradition type of person. I'm more of like an innovation, and I love change. I'm a little bit of a change addict, to be honest with you. I like just randomly move furniture around, like that level of change type of person. So I might actually surprise you when it comes to this topic and my viewpoint on it. So stay tuned and just kind of listen to why I have the viewpoints that I have. I think this topic will be a good way to kind of show the importance, I think, of staying open to things, something that you might just like go, oh, I hear that topic and I'm totally against it, or I'm totally for it, whatever it might be. Sometimes like taking time to familiarize yourself with something and getting to know it better and just like doing your actual real live research. And real live research doesn't just come from like people's opinions on social media. Real live research comes from actually having conversations with people who've actually had those experiences, right? And then of course science comes from scientists, in case anybody's wondering. So all of that being said, today's topic is modern arranged marriage. Let that sit. Modern arranged marriage. Like, what is it? What does that mean? What have you learned? So a little context, as I always like to give to my topics. And so again, I'll kind of start with the topic today, and I'll call it a lifestyle topic. But in this lifestyle topic is talking about modern arranged marriage. And the reason that I thought it was an interesting topic to talk about today is because of the fact that I've had these like random conversations. Like I just got my COVID booster, and while I was sitting there for the 15 minutes afterwards, and the pharmacist, she didn't have another person coming up after me. So we're just chatting away, talking about things, and my kids had somehow come up, and that my husband was Indian. And then it led to like me saying to her, when we first met, I was worried because every Indian that I grew up with, had to be married to another Indian. And then in some cases also were going to be arranged. And so I was really worried, is my husband's family going to accept me? Now, in my case, I ended up really lucky because I've got incredible in-laws. They're very accepting, very open people. Even though they come from, a village and, in kind of province area, they're still pretty modern, forward-thinking people. And really for them, religion kind of ruled all over nationality per se. So in my case, they were happy to have me, as an American daughter-in-law, an American Filipino daughter-in-law who's Catholic, more than if they would have had their sons or daughters marry, an Indian who came from another religion. So I got fortunate. I got lucky in that situation. But since then, I'm just kind of like fascinated by the topic of arranged marriage. And I really spent a lot of time trying to like just ask questions and like observe and pay attention, because certainly in my husband's village and in a lot of Indian culture and many cultures throughout the world, they still very much practice arranged marriage. So it was really fascinating for me to just kind of like learn about this, especially as someone who I tend to be very forward thinking. And I think that most people would probably assume that me being kind of anti-tradition would be against the concept of arranged marriage. But hold on to your seats, folks. I'm not. I'm actually, after, really taking some time to learn about it, it actually in many ways makes a lot of sense to me. And I'll tell you why. The other context was that I've also like had random conversations recently with people, and part of it has actually been influenced by pop culture. And I don't know about the rest of y'all, but one of my favorite things to do is watch absolute junk reality TV. It's like my brain just tunes out. I can decompress. I can stop like thinking about life and business all the time, and stop trying to solve world hunger in my head while I'm in the shower. But it, really kind of just decompresses me. And one of my favorite things to watch is the Bachelor series, Bachelorette, Bachelor in Paradise. Just total trash TV, but I'm fascinated. And the reason I'm fascinated by it is relationship dynamics. It's just something I'm really into. For God's sakes, I'm a recruiter by profession. So it's something that I'd like to watch that human behavior, the process of people making choices in like this microcosm on speed. It's like it's happening super fast. So I ended up finding myself recently kind of talking about the concept of arranged marriage because of now American pop culture, which is so funny to me because, by the way, has anybody ever picked up on the fact that, like, here in the States, like, a new product or something will come out and they'll be like, this is so innovative, and then it's like, wait a second, essential oils have been used in most of Asia for thousands of years. This is not exactly a new idea or concept. So it's just stuff like that. So I kind of am fascinated by this pop culture phenomenon, whether it's with a bachelor or Married at First Sight, or my parents, married me off, meaning like the parents selected who the kids were going to marry. All of these different pop show reality type of stuff that's happening around arranged marriage, right? Or some concept or version of it is what I would say. And I really been thinking about this. I know, shocker, right? I've really been in deep thoughts. And in my deep thoughts, what I've been realizing is I'm like, you know what? Here in the States, dating is freaking hard, okay? Like, I think anyone here would say that. Meeting people in any kind of circumstance, and just getting to know someone and then not having the games and the nonsense, that's all frustrating. So that's one piece. The other piece is, as evidence of a lot of people in my life would be, people don't tend to make the best choices for themselves, right? There's big confusion between lust and love. There's a big confusion between lust being a connection with someone that's meaningful enough to last a lifetime. There's a lack of discussion around deal breaker topics in terms of values and finances and children. I mean, there's so many things that people do to themselves when it comes to relationships that they don't make great decisions. And a lot of times if someone's been through a really difficult circumstance, like let's say that somebody was in an abusive relationship, all of a sudden they find themselves really questioning, they look back and they go, oh my gosh, how did I not see that? Why did I pick him or why did I pick her? You go through this series and you start to really doubt yourself. And I know some people who they just gave up entirely because they just didn't trust themselves. So when you think about how difficult dating is in this country with, in this day and age, when you think about people's lack of great abilities around picking the right people, right? We've all seen it. Again, making my Bachelor reference, there was an episode of Bachelor in Paradise, and I'm going to make this as PG as I possibly can in the description. But there was a situation where there was this girl, very sweet girl, very beautiful, seemed relatively intelligent, that she had a choice between two guys that she was interested in. And it's basically Bachelor in Paradise is like speed dating on crack, it's happening at a very rapid speed. And she had choice between two guys. One guy was this really genuinely nice guy. He was clearly genuinely interested in her, for a meaningful relationship. And then there was this other guy who was just this smoking hot, super swagger, lusty type of situation. And she kind of had this, she was interviewed and she was having this conversation, she's being interviewed, but she's having a conversation with her private area and then her brain. And she's saying, hey, private area, why can't you need to talk to my brain and get on the same team here because I'm making bad decisions because I'm thinking too much with my private area. You get me? So, and it was just really funny to me. Well, funny period. It was funny in general, but it was interesting to me to say, to see that dynamic happening going, oh my gosh, I'm about to make bad decisions because I'm not focused on the right things. Yet the whole claim on the show is people are coming there looking for love, looking for marriage, looking for a meaningful relationship, and yet we can't be trusted to make decisions for ourselves. So that's a little context for you. And I bring all that together and I bring it to say, in the modern definition of arranged marriage, I'm actually a huge fan. And we've actually had conversations with our kids in our own family. We're obviously raising our kids in the States, but Indian culture, Filipino culture is a huge part of our life as well and our identity here. And we are also going to be establishing, our home and a life in India as well for, time that we get to spend more and more time there. So we talk to our kids about everything, but in particular, we have talked to them about arranged marriage, and they've seen their relatives in India go through the process of arranged marriage. So here's what I've learned as I've learned firsthand through my husband's family and friends, what arranged marriage looks like today in terms of his community in India. There's a couple different things I've witnessed. One is, ladies, get ready for this, get excited. Women tend to be in the driver's seat today when it comes to arranged marriage. So if a girl says, or the son, I want to be arranged. So first is their choice. If they say, I don't want to be arranged, that's also been respected. My husband did not want to be arranged, obviously. But in the case of like his niece, she did want to be arranged. And it was very much, first of all, in Indian culture, it is understood that you're bringing two families together, right? And that's the truth, guys, right? I think this is this hyper independence that we have here in the United States. There's a lot of people who don't look at it that way. They're like, no, it's just me. I'm the one marrying this person. Well, that's not really true. If you care about a relationship with your own family and the person you're marrying cares about their relationship in any way, shape, or form, the truth is you're actually bringing those two families together, not just the two people in a marriage. And so that's something that's always been acknowledged in, Indian and much of Asian culture in general, is like it's two families. And so there's really a family effort in marriage. Also, marriage is like the single most important event of a person's life in Indian culture. And it's something that everyone's super invested into and excited about seeing happening. So there's conversations, and there's also like conversations like looking in terms of timing. So my husband recently shared a story of a family member who kind of was expressing interest in a young man when she was only 17. And they really sat it down together with her as a family and said, we're happy for you. We don't want to like tell you or, not to be in love or have that. And we will be supportive of that marriage after you finish your education, after you have some sense of a job or a profession, so that if God forbid you're ever in a situation where you have to take care of supporting yourself or your children, that you're able to do that. So we just ask if you can kind of push the pause button on this relationship until you're 21, and then we'll all do this together and we'll all be super happy. She did that, and she's living such a beautiful, happy life now, and she has for many, many, many years. Okay? So these are the kind of conversations that happens in Indian culture, and I'm like, I'm just really impressed by it. I'm impressed by just the involvement, the just pure acknowledgement that, this is not just a bringing together of two people, it's a bringing together of two families. So it all really starts there. Now, I think when people think of it, when you think of Bollywood, when you think of like old school arranged marriage, you think of like two people showing up the first day, seeing each other for the first time, or you're being betrothed from like birth to someone, or you're thinking of, God forbid, child brides and all that kind of stuff. That is not at all what's happening in terms of me and Tony's Indian community. We have not seen that. As a matter of fact, what the experience was with one of Tony's family members that I got to witness and kind of see and observe was, again, the girl was in the driver's seat. She chose to be arranged. She brought this up with her parents. Her parents actually asked her first, hey, is there anybody you got an eye on? Is there somebody that you're interested in? They also brought him in a matchmaker, so somebody who was like a pro at doing this. She then, like, think of it as like Match.com, but for real, right? So again, pop culture. And brought, I think it was like 7 or 8, based on what the girl says, this is what I'm looking for. Here's like the kind of guy I like. Here's the kind of background. Again, her parents participate in saying, here's the kind of family we think would work well with our family. And we could come together. And they brought all these qualities, and then the matchmaker was like, okay, cool, let me take all these things, and then went off and looked for like suitors, put together books to present to her of information and said, here's their pictures, here's their educational background, here's some information about their family, this is like, here's what we've learned about this person, in terms of character qualities. And then she gets to look at it and go, okay, I think I like to learn more about this one, this one, this one, and this one. And then they take it to the next level, and maybe there's some face-to-face introductions, like not necessarily like a date per se, but maybe like the guy and the parents come over, for tea, and they sit down and they get to know each other a little bit. And then there's a further narrowing down until she gets to her final 2. again, picturing Bachelor, right? But she gets down to her final two, and at this point now, she engages the elders in her family. And Tony happened to be an elder in this case, and they reached out and said, hey, here's the two finalists, and like who she's interested in. And I think it's kind of twofold. One is like you could have an elder that says, wait, I know something about this family, and it's not great, and we've had issues in the past, and I don't think that this is a good one, but I think this is a good one. In Tony's case, he was like, well, who do you like? Like, who do you prefer? And she said who she preferred, and he goes, great, you have my blessing. That's who it is. And lo and behold, it turns out she picked that one. He's one of my favorite people, by the way, and it's just a great match. And and they have a great life and a great marriage and beautiful kids and the whole 9 yards. I won't give any names away, but in this case, it was a love marriage, but still the involvement of the family, right? Still the recognition that it takes families coming together. And I'm in love with this girl. I have been for a couple of years now, and I'm ready to take it to another level because he finished his. So, because of that reason, they decided that he wanted to move forward in the relationship. So he brought this forward to his mom, and his mom's like, okay, I'm so happy to hear this. Now we will reach out to her family and to her parents, and we'll begin the process. And so the process was first his family, not just his parents and siblings, or her parents and siblings, but like extended relatives, came over to his house. And then his parents and extended relatives went over to her house. And then after both of the families have come together, extended family included, and spend some time together, then they give their blessing, and now they're engaged. So, part of that process too. And again, it's not so respectful of the acknowledgement of like these two families coming together. And guess what? When you've got everybody's buy-in like that, when you've got everybody's blessing, like this is the right person, this is the right timing, when you inevitably, every single marriage on the face of the planet since the beginning of time has really difficult patches, right? Difficult times where you're growing together, you're learning each other, you're learning how to cope with differences. When you do that and you've got this strong foundation that's founded first in values and secondly in family, this whole family is now invested to make sure that you guys succeed and help navigate through that. And you've got all these people with their own rich history of successful marriages who've also navigated difficult times, but everybody's in it. And so I think the level of accountability is phenomenal. This sense of like, hey, guess what? This isn't like we've been family since day one because these two families have also come together since day one. So it's not just as easy as saying, I quit, I give up, let's get divorced. This is why there's such a tiny divorce rate in India. Now, granted, it's also gone the other direction. There's been maybe parents or families that haven't made the best decisions for their kids because maybe they got distracted. Maybe they got distracted by, oh, this is a really wealthy family, but not such a great guy or not such a great girl. And they've had to pay the consequences for that later, too, in a marriage. And they might not be legally divorced, but they've been separated. So there's a lot of, like, married people in India who don't get divorced, but they don't live together anymore. So that's also, a challenge. It just goes to show you that nothing's perfect. It just goes to show you that, the American style of, this not of, oh, it's only two people and I'm nobody's here to make a decision for me or participate in the decision for marrying, that extreme to the other extreme of like Indian arranged marriage in the traditional way. So everybody's got different circumstances that are going to work for them. I would venture to say it would be kind of cool here in the States, like if people were like, man, I have really done a terrible job of picking the wrong guys or the wrong girls, and I need some help, and I love my family, and I trust them, and hey, let me ask them, like, what if it became a little bit more normal here in the States for people to approach their parents and say, and parents or friends or other family members who they really trust and know them super well and can say, can you help me? I'm like, I want to find my forever person. I want to build a family with them, but I suck at making decisions for myself. Can you help me? And then the other side of it, this same open thing that's happening in India right now, which is to say, let it be the choice of that person to say, yes, I want to be arranged, or no, I don't. Or, hey, I actually have somebody who's a love prospect, or I don't. And just leaving, I think for me, that's where the anti-tradition comes in, which is it's all about choices. It's all about options. And in those choices and options, it can also, it can create the best potential of good outcomes. So anyway, I hope I surprised you with my outlook on modern arranged marriage. Maybe you took a little bit something away today that you didn't know before. It was just, kind of a fun topic. So as a reminder, like I always like to say, don't forget to like and subscribe on my YouTube channel, which is Mom Mogul of 4, and like and subscribe, hit that bell. Again, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have an amazing day and rest of your week, and I'll look forward to my next video with you. Have a great day. Bye. Thanks for watching. Below is other videos that you might find interesting. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and also ring that bell for notifications.